Hello, and welcome to Reviewing Every Game Ever, a series where I explore all that gaming has to offer by reviewing every single one of them. And today, I will be reviewing Trinity Trigger. Trinity Trigger was developed by Fu Ryu and published by Xseed Games here in the United States. Xseed has worked on many great game series, so that built up some excitement for the release of Trinity Trigger, for me at least. They've worked on games like Rune Factory, Story of Seasons, or Wild Arms, just to name a few of very many. Trinity Trigger starts off with a story about the gods of order and chaos, and their eternal battle. In ancient times, these battles of the gods left giant weapons all over Trinitaria, which became dungeons that altered the landscape, environment, weather, and other elements of the world around them. This led to them picking two human warriors from birth, branded by Chaos and Order seals, to fight their battle and determine who the winner will be, and will Chaos reign or Order reign. Our protagonist, Cyan, was born with one of these seals on his eye, the seal of Chaos. Chaos isn't straight evil in this game like madness or pain, but also represents good things like art, expression, and freedom as well. Our story starts with Cyan being a little over 18 years old now, as the man of the house who has taken over in place of his dead parents, yeah that's right, parents are always dead, as a scavenger in the dungeons to take care of his sister, who isn't his sister, but she's his sister. It's complicated. By the way, his sister is named Fjern, and you'll see her a lot at the beginning of the game, and then pretty much never ever again, and you thought she might even be the love interest because she's not his sister, but oh well. After finding a trigger in a nearby dungeon, a familiar monster that can transform into powerful weapons named Flom, who has a bad case of amnesia, Cyan then meets Elise, who is an Oracle of Harmony sent to help him on his journey to end the battle between Chaos and Order. She also possesses a powerful trigger, who helps Cyan understand the gravity of being the fated chosen warrior of Chaos. The party will later grow again when meeting a War Oracle of Order named Xantus and his lightning trigger Rai. Xantus has been given a revelation that he is to help them on their quest, and these three primary characters of the story are also the playable characters you will switch between. Xantus was my favorite personally for serious and comedic dialogue throughout the entire story. Like a lot of JRPGs, Trinity Trigger will take your party through a myriad of fantastical lands, usually progressing like this: town with a dungeon nearby, to a monster-filled route, to a new town with a new dungeon. This formula is fine and gives you enough to do throughout the game. There is a solid number of places to explore, even if it's a linear order mostly. The game has a somewhat small roster of monsters, but it isn't that noticeable. A small negative though is that outside of the story, the towns don't have a lot that make them unique from each other outside of layout and environment. The game is littered with hidden chests in towns, dungeons, and routes between them, so always keep your eye out for any nearby. And the game will let you know below the map how many chests are in every area since they are hidden. Sometimes you have to kind of try to wiggle them between trees or rocks or whatever it is. The dungeons are a fun part of this game, and they get to exploring them right away. They have unique mechanics, monster types, chests, boss fights, and more. And unlike the towns all feel kind of cookie cutter, the dungeons feel unique enough, which I really appreciate. They all have their own kind of little traps and puzzles and little things to discover that we'll go on to talk about in a little bit in this video. The dungeons all possess altars that you want to take your triggers to. Some are optional, but the majority are mandatory to the story. These will power up your triggers, giving them the ability to change into new weapons, starting with just a sword and then gaining a bow. I don't want to spoil what every single weapon is or anything, but every character will gain 8 weapons as you'll see on their wheel to work with if you go to all the dungeons, which I would recommend as it is the best part of the gameplay in the game. This also sometimes gets neat little cutscenes like this one. I mean, pretty anime. The dungeons are filled with traps and puzzles, which is nice, and the different ones help the dungeons feel unique enough. They can be a pain in the booty for the AI teammates though, who do run into them a decent amount, and sometimes that leads to their end. This game has a lot of chests, so expect a lot of mimics, who are decently strong monsters. They especially love hanging in the dungeons, and seriously there's almost too many mimics in this game. Luckily, I'm a puzzle master. I show that in all my videos, and if you give me just a second, this is one of the later game puzzles, and I'll just knock this out real quick, and the one left and the right one in the middle. And I want the middle one light up. Right here. Okay, well, see, I'm a puzzle master. Just give me a sec. They're fun. After you've unlocked the full party, you will eventually unlock side quests, which you can see here are indicated on the map by little exclamation marks. You will backtrack a little bit for these, which is nice because there's really not a lot of purpose in the game to backtrack before that. Side quests do help break up monotony of the formula of the game as well, and they tend to be pretty fun. The game could actually use just even a few more. Combat of this game has a nice pace. It enables you to switch weapons pretty quickly and often throughout battles. The buttons essentially are base attack, up to 3 consecutive times, weapon aurora, that activates a special ability such as increased crit rate, and trigger strikes, which are powerful attacks you can build up and unleash on enemies. And using those weapons to activate landmarks, interact with the environment, and break away rocks that hide chests and things like that. So it feels like they're the main guiding point. The synchro gauge is essentially a stamina bar to attack. As it runs low, you can still keep attacking, but hits do less and less damage, which is a fun mechanic. Perfectly timed dodges, weapon auroras, equipment, items, and other things can help you keep your stamina from running out in mid-battle though. The game has a solid amount of boss battles and mini-boss fights, though I wouldn't have minded a few more just like with the variety of base monsters. Usually at the end of dungeons or side quests is where you'll find them. Sometimes they will have unique mechanics that play off the side quest or dungeon, or the environment that they were hidden in. And sometimes they're just big chunky monsters that need a good beatdown. The boss fights all have a little spot under their health bar to reveal what weapons they are particularly weak to once you have used that weapon in battle, and an armor bar that has to be broken before you can damage them. This is a good mechanic to make sure you keep switching up weapons and don't just focus on one, and it's important because you want to break the armor bar as fast as possible before it gets annoying. Defeated enemies often drop materials for crafting items and equipment. I like the crafting system because it's quick and easy and matters to the gameplay without being a pain in the butt or feeling forced. You'll craft tons of healing items in this game, and I mean tons, and you'll need a lot of them as they're meant to be used. You also change the skill tree of attacks for each weapon, combined with the equipment that you crafted to attach to the weapon to change up exactly what you want to accomplish with each weapon. Breaking boss armor, replenishing health, hitting multiple monsters at once, and so forth. Like a lot of things in this game, it isn't super extensive, but it feels like the right amount of inclusion in the game. The voice acting in this game can be a real highlight of it. So I included a piece here from early on that won't spoil anything of Xantus speaking.
I gotta say, tracking you down was not easy. Thought you'd be in Woodroost, Mr. Chaos. Hey now, no need for alarm. See, I'm a war oracle of Solius, the sun god.
Xantus!
What? Oh, crap.
It's not like Oscar-winning dialogue or anything, but I just thought it was real good. And for JRPGs that usually struggle with dialogue and voice acting, for this one to succeed on any level to me was charming and made me fall in love more with some of the characters. This game numbers side quests and chests and other things, which can feel like hand-holding to some people. I would argue it's more quality of life, as I never mind it. In fact, I actually enjoyed it. Completing all the side quests in the game and completing the main storyline, I beat the game in about 25 hours. You know, maybe I left my computer on for a few minutes here and there, but I would say that's going to be average gameplay for most people. There is a post-game that can extend that some, so it's not too short of a game. I felt like it was healthy, even though I am someone who likes longer games. Outside of the main character, Cyan, most of the characters in Trinity Trigger don't develop much as characters. They usually come about as they are when you first meet them. But this isn't so much a big negative, as these people often come into Cyan's life and use their experiences and lore to explain the world of the game as you get information out of them, like a lot of JRPGs, so it didn't bother me much. There is co-op in this game that you can unlock after you get the full party, which makes sense because they can control the other two characters that you swap in between if you're playing single player. I played this game single player majority of the way and didn't feel like the AI was ever so bad that you can't beat it normally playing it single player, but there is moments during boss fights where you want some co-op teammates. Overall, I found Trinity Trigger to be a game that does a lot of things well, even though it doesn't necessarily master any of them, and that's okay. I pretty much enjoy every element of this game, and some of the ideas I would like to see fleshed out more or less, but honestly, overall, I just had a really good time playing the game, and that's what matters when you play a video game. Overall, my final score for Trinity Trigger is an even 8 out of 10. A great game, worth the buy even at full price to me, has replay value with co-op with friends or loved ones, and a little bit of post-game to offer to add on to the time played. And the game has a rare story in a video game that actually had me invested and interested in the concepts they use, especially the dungeons that were giant weapons. Thank you so much for watching. If you played the game, let me know in the comments what you think of it. No, I may have the always correct opinion on rating and reviewing these games, but I'd still like to hear what you think as well. Maybe you'll even change my mind on some things. Like and subscribe and all those things to support the channel, of course, and see me review every game ever.